Hello, welcome to the Ralphthemoviemaker show. I'm joined by Cam. How's it going?
Hey, Ralph.
Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. We'll do that one first. Starring Jason Momoa. Well, Aquaman has a son now, and he lives in his lighthouse with his dad.
They live in the lighthouse? I thought it was just a house.
Oh, well, they live in a house. Isn't it also a lighthouse? Is it like attached?
I think I guess it's near the lighthouse. It didn't look like they lived in a lighthouse.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a lighthouse like in proximity. You know what I mean. He's a lighthouse keeper. That's part of his monologue.
It's the lighthouse too.
It's like The Lighthouse, the movie with Robert Pattinson. They like stay in the lighthouse and like get drunk and
Willem Dafoe, though ironically he's not in this one. He was in the first one. I guess he was unavailable. Maybe he was doing poor things at the time, doing better movies. But yeah, he's not in the second. They killed his character off screen.
Speaking of people who are not in the movie, allow me to address the pink elephant in the room, as Spoonie would say, of Amber Heard.
Well, she is in the movie.
She is in it. She doesn't say any dialogue for like the first hour, but she is in it.
Not as much as she was in the first one. It's not quite like a wordless cameo, but it's not a huge role either.
I was telling you, it was probably very specifically designed that way because, you know, these movies, when they test screen them or whatever, there's multiple edits. And so they were probably trying to find that perfect balance where, like, you know, she's in it just enough, but not too much. Like, you know, people still see she's in it, but not make a huge point of it.
Because most of the time you're focusing on Aquaman and his brother, the Patrick Wilson character. I can't remember the character's name. It's basically like Thor and Loki again. It's a similar dynamic how, you know, they were adversaries, but now they have to get along. I think he even calls him Loki at one point. Did you catch that?
I did like have a little nap during the movie because it was so boring.
Oh, you fell asleep. I got it for the bathroom, but otherwise
it was really, you know, for a movie so visually like spectacular, it was incredibly dull. I found it incredibly boring and uninteresting to watch.
We need to find Manta.
He's different now. He's stronger than before.
It's just like really generic and like, okay, Lost Kingdom, they find like a place and is a generic villain who wants a thing. It's funny, yeah, you're right. You compared it to Thor: The Dark World, which is one of the best Marvel movies, as we all know. Which no, it's not. But yeah, it's like that brother dynamic.
Yeah, right. I mean, this is DC. This is their fourth movie this year, and
is it fourth or is it third?
No, I think it's fourth because they had Shazam 2, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and this.
Oh, Blue Beetle. I was thinking Black Adam, but I'm like, Blue Beetle, like, I totally forgot that movie even fucking existed.
Yeah, we did a discussion on it. Yeah,
I know.
And, they're, for me at least, I won't speak for you, but, like, they're all this, like, mediocre.
I don't know if this one was as bad as The Flash, but I don't know at this point. I mean,
yeah, I think people are kind of sick of superhero movies to an extent. Obviously, like we said, we like the second Spider-Verse and Guardians 3, but other than that, like this year was just kind of a big pile of mush.
DC, I don't know what they're doing because Marvel at least has right. They have some momentum even now. They have stuff coming up like Deadpool 3 next year. DC is nothing. They're way behind at this point.
I think they're gonna have to start from scratch because
they are. They're like all the James Gunn stuff is like a reset. Yeah, none of this stuff matters either, which is why I think that's partly why it didn't do well. Like people don't want to see it because it's not going to tie into anything in the future, you know, like Marvel does. Like there's no future for this stuff. It's basically dead in the water.
Pardon the pun.
It's just like a bad movie, and yeah, no one cares anymore. Like when the first Aquaman came out, it was kind of like a big deal. It was more like superhero movies were like the big thing, and now they're not. And it's just like, yeah, it's just like no one really cares about Aquaman like they did back then.
With the first one, like that and Wonder Woman were kind of like palate cleansers. I'm not even saying like they're amazing movies, but they were definitely less dour than like, you know, Batman v Superman, you know, stuff that preceded it. You know, it was like, all right, a little bit of a change of pace, a little like livelier.
Exactly. I think in comparison to the Zack Snyder stuff, yeah, it was much better. I was reading a funny article and it said, you know, the entirety of the DCEU, this whole extended universe that has been established, ends with Patrick Wilson eating a cheeseburger
with a cockroach in it.
With a cockroach in it, which is the post-credit scene, and that's the only post-credit scene. There isn't another one because I looked.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, that's it. It's like the stupidest post-credit scene. I mean, it's not the stupidest. The Flash one was probably worse.
Yeah, that was worse. Yeah, this at least was like a payoff to a gag, even if it wasn't like a particularly funny one. But yeah, just I think a certain lack of, I don't know, pizzazz, I guess. Like even like the soundtrack, some of the song choices, like they use "Born to Be Wild" and "Spear in the Sky," two songs that have been like in a fucking 1,000 other movies. I mean, they're great songs, but Jesus Christ, they're like fucking 50 years old.
Yeah, Spirit in the Sky. Yeah, it's in Guardians.
Especially, I know it's a show, but like the Bear, like you think about like all the the terrific songs they pick, and it's not they're not like the most obvious selections either. Like sometimes that can really help a movie or a show. You pick like a really creative song, like it helps linger in your memory.
Yeah, it's like how every movie ends with Creedence Clearwater, Fortunate Son.
Yeah, like Suicide Squad.
Live Free, Die Hard.
He must be stopped, or a global meltdown is imminent.
I'm trying to think, like...
It's just, there's nothing really to say about the movie. I just found it incredibly dull and like a big video game cutscene. I didn't like the first one either, but I'll acknowledge the first one's better than this movie. This one just felt very thin. Like they explored everything in the first one. Like, okay, the first one had the thing, like the stuff with his brother and like the love story and the stuff with his mom, like him discovering his mom and Atlantis. It was just like much more going on in that movie. This one felt very thin, and it's like dredging up all the stuff from like the old like the first Aquaman movie. Like Black Manta is back, because he's like the only villain of Aquaman's that's good. Aquaman's not a great character in that respect. He doesn't have a lot of great villains. He's not very interesting on his own. Like character like Batman, you have a ton of characters you could pick from, and they're all great. And you can, like the Riddler, you can do him silly, you can do him funny, right? Catwoman, you can make her a hero, you can make her a villain. Like Aquaman, there's nothing to do with him.
He swims
around and talks to fish, and the whales come in and blow up a submarine in one scene.
Did you catch Martin Short as the fish dude? That's his voice.
Yeah, he was like the fish guy. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, both movies we're talking about today have like big celebrities and just voice roles as like CGI characters.
Yeah, I don't even remember like what was. With
Rebel Moon. It's Anthony Hopkins.
We'll get to that in a minute, but
what else is there to say about Aquaman? I mean, geez.
I don't even know if I disliked it as much as you. It's kind of like with the Marvels. Like I almost wish I had I felt one way or the other.
I'm just so sick of it. I'm just so sick of going to the theater and watching this crap. It's like, give me something new. Yeah, this stuff is so trite, and I hate all the CGI stuff. Like the fact that it's underwater. It's like way too much like CGI overload for me. It just all looks fake.
I don't know if it was like one of the sea monsters, whatever. It looked like the alien in Chicken Little with the eyes. I don't remember.
They did the little tripod ships that they use. The environmental message of the movie really beats you over the head. It's incredibly corny. Like Aquaman speaks to the world at the end in his Aquaman suit. It's incredibly corny. Like the message of the movie, the monologues.
To be fair, both like these, I think both these Aquaman movies are like self-consciously corny, but it doesn't mean they're particularly. This one is not particularly interesting, like you said. It just kind of putters along.
Yeah, right.
I thought like the part where you think like Aquaman's father's dead, like that was so corny. Like
I think that was like Amber Heard's first line in the movie. It was like, "Where's my son?"
Well, she liked when the baby peed in Aquaman's mouth.
She laughed. If you count that as a line.
I was thinking it's been 3 years since we did our video on Wonder Woman 1984. How does that one hold up in the DC universe?
It doesn't hold up well. We dislike the movie more now, I think, than when it came out. And we didn't even, we did a 3-hour recording on it, so we didn't even like it then. But
this is better than that, but that's not really saying much.
Yeah, by a little bit.
That one was really dumb. I guess, I don't know. How long was this? It was like a little over 2 hours?
It's about 2 hours. Yeah, it still felt too long. But yeah, it could have been shorter. Nicole Kidman felt really underutilized.
Yeah.
It's mostly like her CGI double, floating on whales or whatever. And
yeah, I think her She has more lines in her AMC video.
Yeah, I saw it at a Regal, but
I've seen that video at least like 80 or 90 times at this point, I would think, because I usually go to AMC. I mean, Jason Momoa is fine in the part. Like, I like him. You know, I don't know if they're going to bring him back at this point. If it's just going to be like a clean slate.
yeah, I don't know.
Seems like with James Gunn and Peter Safran.
I think it is, because I don't think this movie didn't do well. It was a big bomb, so
I mean, is it technically a bomb yet? I mean, it just came out. It's not doing great.
yeah, it'll probably end up bombing.
Like all their movies since.
Ever. Well, yeah, Aquaman 1 and Wonder Woman did good.
I think the first Shazam was that was the most recent one that was an actual hit. I mean, we liked the Suicide Squad, but you know that got hurt by COVID. Not to mention, I'm sure people were turned off by the first Suicide Squad movie being so terrible.
Yeah, that too. All those movies being terrible. Yeah, but I guess you can't call this one a bomb yet, but it's underperforming. Although the theater, when I went, the theater was, there's people in the theater. So it might end up doing okay because there's nothing else out.
Or at least nothing that directly competes with its audience, because there's like a lot of music. There's like Wonka and The Color Purple. It's a lot of musicals, so it's not like necessarily the same crowd.
So it might end up doing okay if it's like number one for a few weeks.
Yeah, we'll see. Because my theater wasn't super full, and I went like 7:00.
It's definitely not going to do as well as the first movie did.
No, not nearly.
That one made like over $1 billion. Yeah, it's not going to do that.
I think we just need a little more variety. I'm not saying like we have to stop having superhero movies, but yeah, just a little more ingenuity, I guess. Something we haven't seen before.
Right, we're just kind of sick of this stuff. Yeah, and like you said about Jason Momoa, he might come back, but the rest of the Justice League is gone at this point.
I guess so. Even though they were just in that's kind of what makes it confusing, because Ben Affleck was in The Flash and Henry Cavill, but like
was in Black Adam, but then that was just a cameo. Now Henry Cavill's not coming back.
Yeah, it just seems so like inconsequential. Like these like Henry Cavill, like is that like that's literally the last time he'll ever play the character? It seems kind of odd.
It's a total mess. It seems like they have no idea what they're doing, and they're just like flailing into the air, hoping like something hits at some point.
Maybe the Suicide Squad, maybe like those. Maybe I presume like Margot Robbie will still play like Harley Quinn, but who knows?
Yeah, maybe. But they just don't know what they're doing. Except when it comes to Batman, the Batman stuff is good because they keep that separate and they care about it. And Batman's actually a good character, unlike most of them.
Right. And when's the second one coming out? 2025 or something?
Yeah, is that the sequel to the Matt Reeves one?
Right. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure that'll do well and be good. But yeah, aside from Batman, they have nothing. They have nothing. They should sell it to Marvel. And just, yeah. They should sell DC to Marvel. Yeah. But none of them are as bad as the Sony cinematic universe, the Sinister Six or whatever. The Sony Marvel universe. It's like Marvel. What do you mean? Like the Marvel, like MCU, DCU, and then Sony Marvel CU with like Morbius and Madam Web. I can't wait for that. By the way,
I enjoyed the second Venom. I don't think it's like a masterpiece, but I had some fun with that. Unlike some of these other ones. But yeah, Madam Web looks terrible.
Yeah, we got the trailer for that one.
At least it has Sydney Sweeney. That helps.
Yeah.
Pretty.
I'm sure it'll be terrible. My mom died in the forest researching spiders or whatever she said.
True story.
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
Even the title, like Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, it's just it's a little bland. Like, okay.
The whole movie's bland. There's nothing to say about it. Like, the plot is shit. Like, it was so generic.
Yeah, you know where it's going. Like, Patrick Wilson's character, like, he was the villain. Now he's,
Now he seems like the most rational one. Like, yeah, like his redemption is like, okay, now I'm suddenly a good guy. It doesn't really make any sense at all. But I guess whatever. At the end of the day, they're brothers. They love each other. That was the point.
always be my brother.
We're family.
I got family.
3 or 4 out of 10.
5 out of 10. Like there were worse movies I saw this year. This is just kind of whatever. Yeah, I give it like a 5.
I'm just so sick of this stuff. Yeah, it was incredibly dumb.
DC's like all 4 of their movies, like I gave like a 5 out of. You think that like one of them would be pretty good, but not really.
I'd probably lower my rating of The Flash, but not by a lot, because that movie's so fucking. I might like that movie better actually, because it was so fucking crazy.
Well, there was more to say about it.
So Rebel Moon is the new film.
A Child of Fire.
That's right. Rebel Moon Part 1, The Child of Fire, is Zack Snyder, the visionary director Zack Snyder's new masterpiece. No, I can't believe anyone likes Zack Snyder at this point. Not as a person, I mean his movies.
Sure, well, yeah,
I just don't know how anyone likes his movies. They're all like this. And he had like this resurgence recently with the Justice League shit. We're like, oh my, he's this genius director. And then after this movie, I'm like, yeah, see guys, he's a hack.
I am a child of war.
I mean, even compared to a movie like 300, this movie is shit. Because 300 at least has like a visual aesthetic.
Yeah, it has entertainment value. But
definitely, this movie looks so bland and dull. Yeah, very bad all around. Like as far as just like the production design, looked really rushed to me.
And it cobbles together, elements from, Seven Samurai and the Magnificent Seven and Star Wars. But yeah, it's
obviously it's trying to be like Dune with the part 1, part 2 thing.
I think there was one shot I liked. I like when you first see like Sofia Boutella's character. Like they look kind of cool with like the background. But yeah, like most of it's kind of like washed out. I just found it very hollow. I didn't think the characters were interesting. It just gets so repetitive when you just like keep meeting new people on the journey, and it occurred to me at a point. I'm like, oh, they're doing this because it's a part 1. I'm like, well, that doesn't make it like substantial as a movie though.
Right? It's kind of like Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship too, in that respect. Them meeting all the different characters and like banding them all together. I guess,
but
it's like Star Wars too.
Those characters felt fleshed out. I gotta even though like some of them you don't even meet to the halfway point, it was clear like who was who in the group. The
stuff we're referencing, like Dune, that has material. There's like real source material there, and this is like, okay, this is just Zack Snyder creating his own kind of bullshit mythos. I'm like, is this based on a book or something before it came out? Because I didn't know. It's all original, right? He just like wrote this.
I don't know.
Unless it's from his like, scrapbook from when he was 15 years old. The same one Sucker Punch is from, which is another fucking terrible movie he made.
There's supposed to be an extended cut, but like, who fucking cares? Like, it's so bad. That doesn't really captivate me. Like, oh, there's going to be like a better version, later. Right. Like, why don't you just make the better version now?
And the CGI was like mixed, at least. Some stuff looked good, some stuff didn't. Some stuff looked fake. There's the robot played by Anthony Hopkins, voiced by him. That looked fine. That looked fine. But that stuff's easy. Like it's we've seen that in District 9 and whatever. It's not like that impressive to me anymore. And yeah, like Anthony Hopkins, it's just his voice in the movie. Oh, Anthony Hopkins did it, but it's just his voice because of course he would never be seen in this fucking piece of shit. But like you were saying about the characters, the characters are one-dimensional. They're all fucking cardboard cutouts, like rip-offs of Star Wars characters. And it's all like so predictable too. Like the writing.
Oh, the dialogue is atrocious.
And not to mention the excessive exposition and
oh yeah. It just gets so laborious. And yeah, because I guess Sofia Boutella's character, like she used to be in I'll just call it the Empire. I don't remember.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
It's just so much blah blah blah. Like this is this character, and then like we're meeting this guy who's a prisoner, but he's gonna ride this monster. It's like it reminded me of Spirit, like Stallion of the Cimarron. Like he's like, woo! I'd rather be watching that movie. It was very similar.
Yeah, like the beginning monologue, they were like explaining like the backstories, like, and it's the moon of
Rebel
Rebel. It's
moon.
like some line of
Sorry, since you mentioned Star Wars, it makes me appreciate something like Rogue One a little more, because that at least had like gravitas and like mood to it. Yeah, like this is so just very dry and humorless.
I guess we could like just explain briefly what the story is.
Do you want to try?
There's a moon that's a rebel moon, right? So it's just the Empire. They're attacking the rebels, and the rebels are on the moon, and that's kind of it. And I guess it starts with like Sofia Boutella. She like lives in this farming village, and a villain one day appears. The Empire one day appears. The villain's played by the actor from Deadpool and the guy who, from Game of Thrones who replaced Michelle Huisman as Dario.
It's funny because it's the two guys that played that role. Daenerys's whatever advisor, boyfriend. I thought that was interesting.
It's Ed Skrein.
Ed Skrein and Michelle Huisman.
Oh yeah, they're both in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both Darios. Yeah, that's right.
I think Ed Skrein, I think only, was he in 1 or 2 episodes? I can't remember.
Yeah, he's in like season 3, and then season 4 they recast Dario. Yeah.
Yeah, not that Ed Skrein a bad actor. I think Michelle Huisman like fit that role. Like he kind of like looked more the part. I thought.
Ed Skrein usually plays bad guys.
Yeah, like in Deadpool, and he was in like Beale Street. Michelle Huisman's character is really boring in this. He's just like the everyman guy, but he's like no personality.
Right. You're waiting for him to like take control of the situation, but it's mostly just like Sofia Boutella who does everything in the movie, which is just kicking people. Because to Zack Snyder, that's an empowering female character.
Yeah, and I think she can play like a good like action hero, but again, like she's just like who is this Zora? Like, what do we know about her?
The bad guys, they have this plan to like control food production in the village. They're gonna take their food and I don't know, do something with it. But
again, it's like Seven Samurai. Yeah, it's just kind of similar.
The main character's Korra, I think her name is.
Zora? Was it Korra or Zora? It was something like that. Yeah, maybe it is Korra.
But Korra, it's like the Last Airbender character, Korra.
It's like the Last Airbender movie.
Yeah, in terms of quality as well. Yeah, but then there's this horrible scene where like the guys who take over the village like start assaulting this farm girl. Assault, and it's just like it's so I don't know. Usually stuff like that I don't get so sensitive about, but it's just really rubbed me the wrong way. Like it was so unnecessary.
What is even the point of it?
All the characters are one dimensional like that. Like those bad guys, there's no depth to any of them. There's one guy who's good and the robot, and the rest of them are just pure evil. And there's no any kind of complexity to it. So
because they're whatever posse, whatever like Charlie Hunnam, whatever. Like they keep adding these like it just keep like there's so many of them. Like you can't even like keep track of them after a certain point. Like Ray Fisher who dies before the end. Like they died to save us. Like okay, there was another cheesy part where like that farm girl character, she puts like a crown. What do you call?
On Anthony Hopkins' robot head.
And the robot, like I love you. You're good. You have goodness in you, robot man.
Oh yeah, the movie looked bad. The action scenes were bad too. Like that stuff sucked.
It's just kind of monotonous. Like that, like the ending climax is just kind of like exhausting. It just keeps going and going.
Total overload. Yeah, I forgot like how the movie ended. How did it end? I was dozing off, and then it said end of part 1. I'm like, oh, thank fucking god, it's over.
Well, like the heroes live. Where Charlie Hunnam's character, he's almost kind of like a Han Solo equivalent, except that he betrays the group because they meet him at a bar. It's very similar.
Exactly.
But at least in Star Wars, the deal, they needed a ship. That's why they were talking to Han and Chewie. But this one, he's just like, let me join up with you guys. Like, okay. And So anyway, so like the heroes, they live to fight another day, and Ed Skrein villain character, he gets revived like Darth Vader. They pick him up, and he meets this like overlord character. He gets sucked into this goo or something. I don't even fucking like know. I
remember the goo.
And he's talking to this guy. I guess he's the father of the Sofia Boutella character, whatever, adoptive father. I guess it's kind of like Thanos-ish, like Nebula or whatever.
It's just so derivative of other things, yeah.
Yeah, and then so he lives, and he's gonna be the bad guy. It lives like it ends with him like screaming like back to life, like ah, and then it's like end of part one.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a horrible ending. Part 2 is coming out April of next year. And it's like, okay, I don't give a shit about. Yeah, go ahead and rush that one out.
That's so quick, and you think it'd be like a year
compared to Dune. They had like a few years.
What didn't I didn't see these in the theater, but like Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions, weren't that like they like a couple months apart or something? I don't remember. I think
they were in production at the same time, yeah.
But I think they came out around the same time, like in quick succession.
Yeah, exactly. Without like a proven concept, it's very difficult to like plan for sequels. Lord of the Rings, they had the books, so they knew they were doing that, and same with like Harry Potter and like Dune. Even I know that was a risk, even doing the part one with Dune, but that paid off for them.
Yeah, and with
Zack Snyder's just let me just do that for no reason. Like if you can't tell the story well in one movie, then don't tell it at all, because it's really just dragged out. Like the story, it's so fucking boring.
I think with Avatar, like I think James Cameron has enough of a grasp on like what audiences are interested in. They're accessible enough, even though they do have like their own kind of like crazy mythology, but they're very watchable.
And that has like the hook of the special effects too. They're always going to groundbreaking, groundbreaking special effects movies, and like the theater experience, and right. They're fun movies to watch in a theater. This is this is just something you turn on Netflix. The story's not engaging. It's not based on any kind of notable IP or anything.
Not that it has to be necessarily.
No, but it has to be good on its own if you're going to do that, and it isn't. It's terrible. So I just don't understand the logic of even making this movie. It just seemed like Netflix gave him a bunch of money because they trusted him. I don't know why they trusted him, because maybe that zombie movie he made did well.
Right. I meant to mention there, you saw that. I didn't.
Zack Snyder works well making zombie movies, or making movies that are very well. I don't even like that movie. I think that movie is incredibly obnoxious. That Army of the Dead movie. I don't like that movie at all.
I think he needs someone to rein him in, because he definitely has like a visual flair. His cut, his director's cut of Justice League has a lot of fans. I don't know. Is this gonna have fans? This like is getting fucking.
He has fans no matter what. They're a bunch of weirdos online who love everything he does.
I'm just saying, like this one in particular,
I'm sure they'll love it.
This one has been critically reviled. Like you look at the reviews, it's like D-, 1 star. Like this one is getting trashed.
Sure, maybe people will wake up. That's my hope, is that they'll see that this guy can't make a good movie. But
I'm not saying like he should stop making movies, but like he's this is not working. This, at least not this one.
It's just like, man, like how many times am I gonna watch these movies to be like, well, no, well, I knew this one wasn't gonna be good, but it's like. It's so frustrating to just watch this stuff. It's so frustrating.
Yeah. And so I don't think this is in theaters, right? This is only on Netflix?
This is only a Netflix movie. If you want an action movie, watch like Extraction 2 or something on Netflix.
Is there a second one?
Yeah, there is. The movie was not only just awful, but like a uniquely awful movie. It's definitely going to be on my worst of the year, either the top 20 or top 10 worst of, so bottom top, whatever you want to call it. It's horrible. It's uniquely horrible, and has it's so awful.
Like if you weren't doing this for the podcast, I don't even know if I would.
Right.
There was a thing with like a Spider Woman. It's like Gina Malone. You remember that part? Like, there's so much that happens. Like, it's hard to even like do like a beat by beat synopsis.
That's the thing too,
especially because it's aping Seven Samurai, like Magnificent Seven. Like those movies have really cool like introduction scenes. If you think like, I don't know if everybody's seen Magnificent Seven. Like when you meet like James Coburn's character, he's trying to prove how fast he is with a knife, so he he throws a knife at a guy before he can draw a gun. Like you can do really fun stuff with like introducing like your squad, but this gets so dragged out. Like it's just, all right, another character. Like you kind of get exhausted by it after a certain point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the movie too, right? That and I'm just gonna go back to the visual part of it.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
I mentioned to you, there's a part where they're outside and it's like sunset, kind of lit orange. You know, it's like that golden hour glow you get like when it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like the sun's going down.
Isn't that like Star Wars too? And Luke's looking at the suns, and they're kind of like orange.
Except those were two suns. I assume one of them was fake. They usually film movies like kind of at that hour because the lighting is nice or whatever, and it emits this orange kind of glow. And then they walk into their little hut or whatever. This is like when the villagers are first meet like Ed Skrein and all them. They walk into their little hut and the color temperature just completely shifts.
Yeah.
In a movie like this that's like cost $150 million, little things like that are noticeable because they just stand out more because there's so much value added to everything else. And then you see like these little errors and you're like, that's very distracting.
And yeah, the movie just kind of assumes you're rooting for these characters because they're fighting for a good cause, but that's not enough.
Yeah, you need to make them interesting on their own, but there's just nothing to say about the characters. They're very bland.
I was just flipping through like Wikipedia just because there were so many characters. Mentions like one of them's a love interest for her. I don't like even remember if there was. I guess there was like one of the villagers.
I'm just gonna call him Dario instead of whatever his character's name is in the movie.
There's no chemistry with like anybody.
That's funny that we're making like. We're calling them the Empire and Dario because the actual names they have in the movie are just like, oh, I don't care.
Well, isn't there a place called Providence in the movie? Did you catch that?
Yeah.
Like fucking Rhode Island? Like, why would you call a place like Hartford? Was that another place in this universe? Because they're in the village and Corey Stoll's character gets killed. You think...
He was really in it briefly.
Jaimon Hunsu's in the movie. Again, a really, charismatic actor, but he's just like another... It occurred to me just now that he's in the movie. Like, yeah, he's just another fucking guy in the crowd.
He was in Charlie's Angels as well. Yeah, right. He was wasted in that movie, too. He was in the new Charlie's Angels, the Elizabeth Banks one.
Oh, Cary Elwes is in this, too. Like, very briefly, he's the king. I don't have too much else to say.
No. The movie was 2 hours. So for Zach, well, it's also two movies.
It's longer than that. It's like almost 2.5. Or no,
it's 2 hours and 13, but the credits are like 10 minutes long.
One of our least favorites of the year. A good way to end the year for the podcast. The podcast isn't ending, but this is the last one of the year.
Yeah. Hey, we don't know. Anything could happen. One of us could die.
Thanks.
One of us could come down and hit us in the head with a large club and then take our food supply, like Corey Stoll in the movie.
Be killed by Nicolas Cage as Renfield, but then get revived at the end.
And then everybody, my whole support group was revived.
Whoa, that is a lot. Let me rewind.
That's my Nicholas Hoult impression.
Well, he's gonna be Lex Luthor. Speaking of which.
Oh yeah, we'll see about that. Yeah, well, I mean,
we'll see about that. Sounds like a threat. We'll see about that.
We'll see. Yeah, I'm gonna kill him and take his role. We'll see about that, Nicholas.
Yeah, what would you rate Rebel Moon?
1 star.
Out of 10?
1 star. So what is that? 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I would give it like either a 2 or a 3. Yeah, it's one of my least. It's definitely one of the worst of the year. Is it the worst?
Definitely down there.
Right now, I have The Shift as my, which you haven't seen. It's
The Shift. I saw there's a poster for another one of those movies. It's from the director of Sound of Freedom. It said
it could be the one with John Lithgow because I got a couple previews in front of The Shift.
Cabrini,
okay.
A young Italian woman comes to New York with nothing and goes on to become one of the greatest entrepreneurs in American history. Wow, sounds like really stupid.
Masterpiece.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's the one with John Lithgow and David Morse. It's got Silvio.
No, Furio.
It's got Furio.
Federico Castelluccio.
Stupid fucking game.
You got a B on your hat. At least John Lithgow was just in Flower Moon.
That's right.
I saw him on the street one time. I've told you that before. Right? I thought that was cool. By Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
like some tall guy takes his hat off. I'm like, that's John Lithgow. But yeah, anyway, yeah, don't watch Rebel Moon.
Anyway, after that name drop, you're so cool, Cam.
I didn't meet him. I just saw him on the street. It was definitely him.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so let's do question then. You rated it, right? One and a half. You gave it.
Yeah, 2 or 3 out of 10. I don't. Yeah, either way, it's bad either way.
Yeah,
split hairs.
Yeah, but not a glowing recommendation.
I really love Poor Things. I just saw that last week. I know Ralph covered it too. That was
great. That was really great. Yeah, I would watch that again. I might go see that in a theater. Here's a question from my Threads account. I posted a question thread there. So this question's from That One Filmmaker. In your experience as a filmmaker, what is the biggest lesson you've learned operating on independent budgets? You and I have been working on on someone else's indie movie recently, like helping them with it. So I hope we could like shed some light on like independent films and that. Cause yeah, I've been an assistant editor on something. I could be vague about it, right?
Yeah, we can always say more about it later.
It's been challenging, like over these past days, to like get this assembly cut I've been doing, the rough cut, because it's a big rush. You're trying to get this stuff done before, reshoots, which is coming up soon. So I've had to like rush nonstop to get this movie done. But I feel, making independent movies especially is very difficult. It's usually very time consuming and stressful. And, there's a lot of challenges you face more so, I think, than like a bigger budget film, because they have way more resources. But, there is something nice about independent movies too, where people are very, it's a much smaller team. So there's much more of a sense of camaraderie. You really get to know everybody. Right. So that's kind of like the trade-off there. But yeah, like just kind of talk about, you a little bit, Cam. I want to hear your thoughts about.
Sure. Yeah. I'm also involved with the project Ralph mentioned. And yeah, you just got to be cognizant of time and money because, yeah, like that's more of a factor. Not that doesn't matter for big budget movies too, but, you gotta be aware, like, it's not as simple as just, like, getting a camera and, like, start filming. You need a crew, you gotta set up lights. Yeah, everything takes time, and yeah, it's not, yeah, there's also, like, you think about, like, company moves, like, if you're doing multiple locations at a day, it takes, time to pack things up, and also you gotta be aware of, crafty, getting people snacks, make sure, like, they can park, all that stuff, yeah.
There's usually just like a lot of rush and like it's definitely more of a constraint on you in a smaller budget thing than something bigger budget, I feel.
Yeah, it's cool. Like looking back, like some like obviously like big filmmakers now, but like guys like Tarantino and the Coen brothers, kind of looking back at the earliest stuff, thinking like how small budgets, so like Blood Simple, like Reservoir Dogs had, but like how like great they, you're not even like conscious of that necessarily while you're watching it. You're too engrossed in this suspense and the characters. And it's cool to see what like guys do with like bigger budgets later on. They kind of like expand their like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's kind of like a big epic.
It's good you get that experience because you can't just start right off with the big budget stuff. You need to start like smaller scale. And usually with a smaller scale movie, like if you're making a smaller scale movie, like this one we're working on, you have like a lot more creative freedom. Like you have more creative input in the movie because there's less people working on it. You have more of a say. And like these, even just like these little stylistic choices and stuff that end up, they do have an effect on the movie when you see the final cut. So like that's cool as well. I think that's a huge, like that's really why I like independent filmmaking. You have way more of a say, or as opposed to a movie like Aquaman 2 or whatever, where your voice does get kind of lost and like because there's thousands of people working on a fucking movie when it's like that scale.
And not to say, James Wan definitely does have a voice. I mean, we saw, again, Saw is another, that was like an independent hit. And it's just like, I'm sure it could be tougher to have that balance of, like putting your stamp on something when it's like such a big project. That's what, it's cool that like, Christopher Nolan, he's still, something like Oppenheimer, he can, do like, you know, very personal movies that are like also like, you know, big budgeted and,
Yeah.
you know, like crowd pleases.
with an independent, but again, like with all these things, like having a lot of creative control, having a lot of input say over the movie, it's a lot of stress too. Like it's a big responsibility for an independent movie, which is why some of them don't work, but then some of them do. That it's more of a risk.
Yeah, and there can also be like a, you know, a low budget charm to the movie because yeah, you don't have like, you know, the effects budget. You can't have elaborate. You know, you can't do like the hard home sequence in Game of Thrones. I mean, it looks great, but like yeah, like, you know, so again, you want to get people engaged in, you know, dialogue and setting.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Exactly. Right. Thanks for joining me, Cam.
Thanks, Ralph.
Good talk.
Hopefully there'll be good movies in 2024, like Madam Web.
Okay, bye.